key. He is the creative element of this entire group of players, and if they're going to do anything this year, keeping him fit and getting him on the end of balls is going to be absolutely vital for Widnes. Young players, rising stars. I've gone with Tom Gilmore in the way that I went with Ryan Hampshire. It's shit or get off the pot time now for me as far as this young kid's concerned. He can play well. He's 22. He's been in a professional system for a good number of years, and he's been given the opportunity by Dennis Betts to fill some pretty big shoes. So his star does need to rise for Widnes, and he's got every opportunity and every chance to go on and prove to me and you and the Widnes faithful that not replacing Kevin Brown, apart from within, is the sense that was the right move to make. So good luck to the kid. I kind of feel like if it was going to happen, it would have happened by now, but he's my rising star, and I hope I'm eating my words about Tom Gilmore in 6 to 9 months' time.
Key man is Reece Hanbury, like you said. For me, he was the best fullback in Super League last year throughout the whole camp, particularly the regular season. He only missed a couple of games in 2016. They'll need that again from him this year to have any chance of the top 8. The rising star is a player who he's young enough to still be in the rising star category.
Yeah.
But I think his rise will be from making it into the Super League on a regular basis to being a well-known name around the Super League, fan circles, a player that other fans of other teams will know and have heard of and talk about.
Yeah.
And that's Matt Whitley. I think he's become established now, but he's still only 20. He runs great lines. His defence is improving. His reading of the game is improving, but he runs fantastic lines. It could be the year where he does become a well-known name.
Very good. Okay, in terms of how the season's going to go, finishing 12th and losing a KR in the £1 million match, for me, I think is how things, if they don't do something, will pan out for Widnes. So, and obviously they're not doing nothing in the Cup.
Yeah, I don't expect a cup run either, and I've got them 12th in Super League as well. Someone has to finish bottom. We've got 12 teams. I can't put them all in the top 8.
Yeah.
I think they'll win the £1 million game.
Okay.
I don't think anyone will get relegated. There's a spoiler for that section, or promoted. But yeah, I think they will win the £1 million game.
Okay, but let's have some positivity, because we do have a lot of Widnes fans that listen, and I think it's probably
I'm almost certain they're all way more positive than we are.
I imagine. It seems. I don't think any of them will be predicting relegation or near relegation, but let's see.
No one does.
No, it's very few people are that pragmatic. Do you remember that year I had Bradford finishing 8th, the year we went down?
Yeah.
I did some really hard work to get us in that 8th spot.
Well, we'll start with Paul Ludo Lewis. He said the sale of Kevin Brown will hit Widnes hard, both on and off the pitch. If we don't bring in another half before the season starts, then middle 8th and victory in the £1 million game is my prediction. If we do, then maybe 8th. Although I think we'll make the cup semis, get beat by Wyatt, and then behead Wolfie. They've got a reputation to uphold, let's face it.
Yeah.
Mark Butler said, a bit vanilla, plenty of dingy competence to be competitive in games, not enough quality to win as many as required to stay out of the end of season carnage. Brown is a huge miss. Middle 8th, but comfortable survival.
Okay.
Paul O'Brien, he said, hoping for another top 8 finish, think it will be tough for the Vikings, but hopefully Mellor and Gilmore will perform. Jordan Greenhalgh confidently says they will finish in 7th, and Mark Birmingham, he says top 8 and Challenge Cup final, but adds ha. So I'm not sure he's certain of his view there.
No, that's ambitious, Mr. Birmingham. I'll give you that. Okay, that moves us on then to the Catalan Dragons. 2015 saw them finishing 5th in Super League, 6th overall once the Super 8s were upon us, and making an appearance in the quarter-finals of the Challenge Cup. I can't remember who's meant to speak now.
Me, I think.
Yes.
Right, I have a question mark over the quality of depth in almost all areas of their squad. On paper, though, the first choice 17 could be 4th to 6th range, but that's a perfect season. That's Huddersfield when they won league leadership, Hull last year in terms of avoiding injuries, and it's been a big squad turnover again at Catalan that I can't see them holding it all together enough to push for silverware. Hopefully some of the more disruptive elements might be out of the squad, because that seems to be what they've done with what they've made, and certainly the comments that have been made about the players who've been moved on. And bringing back Mikel Simon then helps cover off some of the heart that they've lost from the French players that have gone, but maybe in a less disruptive way, we'll see. Pelissier leaving though, it does leave a big hole for me. They have made some good signings in the pack. Obviously, Greg Bird is the most notable one you'd talk about, but Luke Burgess is another one you would mention in terms of signing. Sam Moa, obviously, is a headline name. In the half, so they've signed Luke Walsh, and he's a big downgrade on Carney. I gave you Carney's numbers before, but people talk about Carney not playing a lot of games. Well, Luke Walsh doesn't have a great record of playing full seasons in Super League, does he? I think either a bad run at the start of the season or a bad run at the end of the season. Anything but win one, lose one, win one, lose one. We'll see Fraser go. But however they go about the season and however it happens, and if Fraser stays or goes, whatever happens, I don't see them finishing any better than just a mid-table sort of position from them this year, unfortunately.
No, you've touched on an awful lot of what I had planned to say. High turnover, disruptive players have been moved on, not just Australian ones, but potentially some disruptive French players in guys like Escaré and Pelissier as well. I'd circled Luke Walsh. I think much lies on him being the direct replacement for Todd Carney, and he's a pound shop Todd Carney for my money, and he left St Helens owing them a good deal more assists and tries than he gave them for the money he'll have been on whilst he was sat on the injury table, on the physio table. And I'm concerned that that's going to be a recurring theme for the remainder of Luke Walsh's career. I'm also unconvinced by them at fullback. I know Alan will get in touch with me when I say this, but I'm unconvinced by Tony Gigot as a fullback for them. I think that he has defensive lapses in him. Admittedly, they were there with Escaré, but Escaré was a more attacking threat than Gigot was as well.
Not convinced Braden Willie-Army is the answer at fullback though, like they played in the pre-season game.
I haven't seen that, but yeah, exactly. There you go. They've not been brilliant in pre-season, but I'm trying not to use that. Again, it's worth. Look, Samo is a big name, and Greg Bird, everyone knows who he is, but the Australian contingent at Catalan and that high turnover continues to be the reason for me why they won't necessarily put anything together and finish beyond mid-table for my money, because there isn't the buy-in, there isn't that passion. It's a lovely halfway house between coming out of Australia to go and have that last hurrah in Super League, but not having to live in the north of England and being able to either be nice and warm. And you're laughing, but maybe it's a conspiracy theory in my mind, but it just feels to me like it's a nice, comfortable, warm place to live to see out your final couple of years of your career while you take that Super League paycheck. To demonstrate this, I've created a French 13 out of this squad pretty quickly and pretty comfortably. Gigot, Sigismo, Garcia, Duport, Yaha, Albert, Bosque, Bousquet, Da Costa, Remy Casti, Timo Marjolais, Simon and Battieri. That is a French 13 with passion and desire to play for their French club, and I think, to be honest with you,
and an Australian accent on
he's French, isn't he? He is French.
Yeah,
right.
Qualifies to play for France through
being French.
Having a French mother, I think.
He's more French than me.
Oh yeah,
so he's in.
Only just.
He's in.
Don't knock your heritage.
Oh fine, I'll stick Seguier in at 13 and have a prop playing at loose. The point is, the more French you get on the field with the calibre of what is available to them now at Catalan, I think the better they do. The problem, as you alluded to, is that Fraser isn't going to have the time to do that. So he's going to have to put some of these Aussies in there, and I don't think the buy-in's there for me. So looking at what I can see in front of me, mid-table, it's not that the team isn't capable of finishing fourth if all things combine well. It's that they won't combine well, and people will get hurt, and the curse of that Catalan Dragon thing that's been raising its head for the last 3 or 4 years will do it again, and they'll beat some teams and look good doing it, but they'll lose to teams that you'd expect them to beat, and that'll be the equaliser, and that'll be why they finish mid-table.
Paul Ayton's the key man in my view. I think if he'd have played more games last year, they might have been in with a top 4 shout rather than the fall away that they did. They just didn't get consistency out of him. He's basically, as well, what else makes him key is they're only established hooker in the squad.
Yeah.
And it'll be vital what he can do. If their good pack can get around the park and influence games and create space for the guys behind them, he's going to be integral to that. Then on the flip side, it's the other hooker within the squad, other specialist hooker within the squad, who is not established at all yet, but it's Ulrich da Costa. He's the rising star for me because I think he needs to rise.
Yeah.
He's on that lane for me. He needs to step up to show what he did in 2016 in very small pieces was a good positive development, and he can do more. And I didn't go for Lucas Albert because even at 18, I think the kid's got it made. I think the kid's... He might not play as many games this year, but he probably will when Luke Walsh gets injured. But I think the kid has already got it made. So I think Ulrich da Costa's the guy that I want to see the step up from, the rise from, and I do think he's got it in him. But
for real, definitely. Yeah. I think Ulrich da Costa's a great choice for your rising star. I particularly remember the game they played St Helens away when he came in, and everyone was that was really his first big start for Catalan. Everyone was, even in commentary, like, this kid Ulrich da Costa, we've never really heard of him. And he held his own.
I remember he played in an absolute hammering of Hull KR away as well. I think that was actually his first game, his very first game.
Oh, I remember that night.
And he looked a little bit positionally out of place and stuff, but he had something to work on and develop.
No, I think he's a phenomenal talent. My key man and my rising star are interlinked, so you may think I've gone off piste, but I'll explain why in a moment. Thomas Bosk is my key man for Catalan Dragons this year because Luke Walsh isn't playing more than half their games, so someone's got to come in and take his place, and it's going to be Thomas Bosk, and he's been Mr. Catalan Dragon. He's a really good halfback. He's not a world beater. He's a really good one, and he's steady, and he knows this team, and he knows Catalan Dragon. And if he plays well, that could be a reasonably good replacement for what you lose out from on Luke Walsh. Conversely, my rising star is Lucas Albert. I think he's a phenomenally talented kid, and it goes without saying that he's probably going to play a lot more minutes this year in Super League. So what I want to see happening is him getting taken under the wing of another French half and being developed and being able to express himself with, I suspect, a more nurturing player beside him in Thomas Bosk than he would necessarily have in Luke Walsh. So that's why they're our key man and rising star for me, and they're both quite interlinked.
Fair enough.
I would say. Where do you see everyone finishing up?
I've got them 7th in Super League, 7th in the 8s, maybe a quarter final in the Cup.
Mark, that's ridiculous. I've got them finishing 7th and quarter-finals as well. We've come closer together, haven't we, as the years have gone on in terms of where our predictions... I remember first year of Super League pod, I was kind of everywhere.
No, it was your Bradford one that messed you up.
Bradford fucked me up for a few years, didn't they? Yeah, okay. So, no, I agree with you. 7th and a quarter-final. They might chip in a semi-final if they do really well. It's knockout football. But... And
to be honest, if the first 17 plays 20 games, they can finish in... 25 games over the whole course of things. They can finish in the top 4.
Get more Frenchmen on the field. That's what I say to them. Okay.
Castleford next, then.
Well, do we want to talk about the fan feedback we got from our French people?
I forgot that we'd not done that.
No, that's fine.
Seems like we spent a lot of time on Catalan.
I think, mate, we came in with lofty ambitions of kind of putting ourselves on the clock for certain parts of this show, and it always goes sort of away from us a little bit, doesn't it?
It does.
I love the Super League pod, though, so I'm not too worried. We did get some key people getting in touch with us about their Catalan Dragons. Al Walker says it's going to be a slow burner with lessons learned from the Fire Brigade. At the death, we'll blast the others away. Failing that, mid-table flickers of fire. It was almost a high cue, that, wasn't it? Well done, Alan. Cheers. Mikey Donnelly, always a pleasure to hear from you, mate. Got in touch and said another season of big wins and big losses, maybe a top 6 finish. And James Warriner, who's from the sanjayor.com website, which is for British-based Catalan Dragons fans, he said everything and nothing. We could be great or terrible. It all depends on how Walsh and Bird go.
They're all very similar, those three, aren't they, in terms of it's boom or bust, it's ups and downs, it's nothing in between. There's no steady away with the Catalan Dragons.
There is no steady away, absolutely.
Castleford then, sorry, I jumped the gun before.
No, go ahead, it's your turn.
But let's get on to them.
Tell us about them then, Mark.
Last year, maybe slightly disappointingly, I don't know, they were 6th in Super League, but then rose to 5th in the Super 8. And Cup quarter-finals, so maybe not quite the year that they'd had before, but still a solid year from Castleford. But what do you expect 2017 to bring?
I'm looking for a big year from Castleford, to be honest with you. I don't see last year necessarily as being a disappointment for them, because ultimately there's a bottleneck